about when my son was 9 or 10, we had been approached about making a documentary film about his journey. Again, didn't think we were doing anything special, just parenting the kid in front of us, always believing in him, always pushing boundaries, never settling for things, and just being those types of parents. I picked my head up and I started looking around at the population of parents of kids with autism and other needs. And I realized, oh, this group is not thriving. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
they need a lot of help, and everyone is throwing help at them for their kids. And no one's saying you need to hit the pause button and help yourself. And so when Rocco was 2 and he was diagnosed with autism, I looked for the book that was going to help me, the parent, thrive through this process. Didn't exist. When he was 10, 11, 12, I kept looking for that book. Surely by now, with all the self-publishing options, there's got to be something like that. Still didn't exist. So I thought, I'm just going to write this thing. And so that's how this book came to exist. It was just me both telling my story and also in each chapter providing tools that parents can use at home, even if they don't have a caregiver, even if their child's too young to go to school, taking the time to help themselves every single day. And that was really important to me. I didn't want to just spew the message of this is why you need to support yourself. I also wanted to say, and this is how you do it in a way that you can do it with your complex life. Because believe me, I know how complex their life is. And I've watched this population also be distrustful of experts. You know, they can listen to their therapists tell them it's really important that you care for yourself. Go take a walk, go meditate for 10 minutes. And they almost have a knee-jerk reaction of like, well, that's easy for you to say.
Yes.
You have a kid who talks, right?
Yeah.
Like you have a kid who can tell you when they're sick.
Yeah.
You know, you have a kid who can tell you if they're being mistreated at school. I don't have that. And so I had to really show them, I get your life and I'm simply evidence that you can do this too. So the book does both. It tells my story. It tells them why I was doing what I was doing to help myself and when, and then it shares with them how to do it on their own.
I think it's really important that your story gets out and it's not from, let's say, a doctor expert in autism. Because like you said, there's a lot of skepticism.
Yeah.
I get it also. Patients come in here years and years, chronically ill. We see them and everything, but they're skeptical. What we say doesn't really matter. They want to hear from someone like them, almost like, give me someone my age group, my diagnosis, my everything, right? Or a mother who really gets it, who lives it. Isn't sitting there and collecting money or like telling you this is the treatment for it. This is the way, right? That's really important. What I've noticed is the more people that you can connect and put yourself in those shoes and say, if they could do it, I can do it. Yeah. It's like breaking the 4-minute mile sort of thing. Like no one thought they could do it till someone did it and everyone did it, right? And then it was a bunch of people doing it. So seeing a parent that can do this, and I understand that. I understand. Listen, I'm not a parent, but I understand. It's very difficult to have children that they are completely responsible about you. Then you add in someone with special needs or anything, that's even more of a burden and something that's very difficult. But it is possible to do things like you're saying, to take care of yourself. And it's not only possible, it is necessary in some ways. Don't you feel that way? And when you were writing this book, what was there like a something coming out? I've never written a book. I'm trying to, but it's just really hard to get yourself to do that and write and be in that. What was the process there? I think you have a book in
you, Casper, and I'm going to help you get that book
out. Thank you. I think, again, you're like an example of like, hey, if she could do it, of course. Like, I got the time. I can't say I don't have the time. But what was that process like for you? Was it a cathartic kind of process in itself of writing something that you kind of reviewed your whole life in a sense?
Yeah, it was at times really intense to relive some of the things I'd experienced. And at times it made me go back and think, wow, I never thanked that young 30-year-old mom enough for taking a stand for her own needs when everyone around her was telling her not to. It also made me keenly aware of the societal messages that parents receive and parents of kids with needs really receive, that just because they're normal are not good. For example, when your child is diagnosed with something, you as a parent are giving a to-do list a mile long. I talk about this in the book of like, now address this for your kid, now address that for your kid, now address this. Nowhere on that list is your own well-being. And so you have these parents who are trained or told to sort of become martyrs.
Yes.
Everything into their kid, nothing to you. And I've seen in my work now parents who subscribe to that theory to the detriment of their own health. I've seen parents who on the surface look like great parents. They're doing amazing things there for their kids. They're finding the right therapists and schools. And beneath the surface, their health is deteriorating fast. They have PTSD so intensely, they can't really get out of bed in the morning. They don't look at their emails. They have trouble corresponding and following up on things. They aren't looking at their finances sometimes. I've seen this with people on the outside who are kind-hearted people. I want to make that clear. There's no judgment here. I've been there. But they are still, what's the next thing for my kid? As their bodies are actually breaking down. And so I think I'm sort of waving the flag and saying, not only is it important for you to do this for yourself, it's actually necessary, because if you're not the bottleneck in your child's well-being now, you will become one eventually.
Yeah.
It's important to address that.
And that goes for any parent in any situation, really. Of course, it's more so pronounced when you have someone with a child that is autistic or special needs, but even with a child that has a chronic illness of some sort, just symptomology that continues, and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to do something. I've seen so many parents that have come through these doors, and they themselves sometimes are more of a problem than a solution, meaning they are confused about what to do. They're not being the proper role models in some ways and neglecting themselves, getting very stressed out, and their child's stressed out. They become almost hyperactive at stressful situations. Guess what the child does? Becomes hyperactive in situations. Listen, a child is like a sponge and an amazing mimicker. It sees a parent do something. My brother got angry. Suddenly my little nephew is the Hulk running around smashing things, right? So it's so important.